Good morning and welcome to the January month edition of Golden Bee International Children Film Festival. And
Thank
this
you.
is the first edition of 2021. And with me today is Mr. Denis Thomopoulos, who is the director of the film Cool the Climate. We just watched it. Denis, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. I'm so happy to be here. I'm glad you all just watched the movie.
It's our pleasure. And the kids who have just watched it in our office on a bigger screen, they loved the movie. They loved the concept, the way you have simplified a lot of concepts related to climate change and global warming for them. So they really
Great.
liked it. So,
Terrific.
so, so Dennis, starting our conversation, I am Ram Narendra Yadav. I'm the director of Golden Bee International Children Film Festival, and I'm also a journalist based in Delhi and write on
Right.
a lot of issues on social issues and children related issues and on climate related issues also.
Great.
Dennis, please tell something about yourself as a filmmaker. What have you have been doing, and what are your interest
Sure.
areas in filmmaking?
Sure. I'll just give you a brief kind of recap of how the film came about. I have been a cartoonist for close to 20 years now. And I did a weekly cartoon. I started with AOL and National Geographic Kids. I don't know if National Geographic Kids is popular in India, but
Yes, it is. Yeah.
I worked with them for some time, and I was doing these short cartoons, uh, about 30 seconds to 2 minutes long, a lot of them I really let the animals do the talking and kind of followed their lead on the issues that they cared about. And with animals being on the front lines of the environment, they naturally started to talk about things like climate change and clean water and animal rights. And I kept getting feedback, really positive feedback on the cartoons, which were about climate change. And could I do something longer specifically on that topic? So I put together a half-hour film, and I'd actually shown it at NASA here in the US, and
Wonderful.
then teamed up with UNICEF. And as you probably saw on the opening credits, they're
Yeah.
presenting the film. And it's to that's how it kind of came about, is really through the characters and the feedback I got from fans of the cartoons. And
Yeah.
then, teaming up with UNICEF was in part because of the Sustainable Development Goals of the UN, of wanting to get the word out about these important issues.
Wonderful. Dennis, how difficult it was, being the director of a film and also who has been into cartoons and all, to communicate these highly technical and very complex issues like global warming and climate change to children.
Well, what I wanted to do is to simplify. I mean, as you said, climate change is a very complex issue. And what I really worked hard on was just simplifying everything, essentially distilled all of the issues into ways that I felt were hopefully were clear for kids, and to also do it in a way that was entertaining. And that's what I hope in a way, number one, as a cartoonist, you have to be funny, or it has to be fun. Otherwise, you're not going to want to watch it. So
Sure.
that is how I came up with the idea of doing it as a story. And specifically, it's actually as I was doing it, I really thought of it as Bob's story, Bob the rodent, because every film, and I don't know if, I'm sure if the kids are watching this, and too, is that every story has conflict and you have to resolve the conflict. And we go through changes. In every movie there's an arc, and we see a character. So I took Bob, who was a collection of bad habits and someone who doesn't want to change, but he goes through it, as you might remember, then towards the end of the movie, then he finally realizes, okay, I have to change too. I have to realize this is a big problem. And so that's a combination of the complex ideas with a very simple story. And that's kind of the way I
Yeah.
endeavor to put it together.
Yeah, Dennis, one interesting part of your film is that you have tried to clarify, in the at the global policy level discussions at various forums. U.S. and other developed countries have been pushing the agenda that it's the developing countries and Africa who are also equally responsible for climate change and for global warming, which is actually not true. And Africa and even developing countries like India have
Right.
been maintaining this line of argument that their contribution in global warming and climate change is very less as compared to developed countries like US. And you in your film also you have tried to bring in that the African angle, that Africa has a very little role in contributing to global warming. So why you thought it's necessary to bring that element into your film?
Well, I wanted to really share that it's a global issue, and it's like, and I hope, as you saw, there was the farmer that was set in India. There was the African who was, not living on the grid, so to speak, in any way. But he was. Everybody's going to suffer from this, and as you saw in the film, like the African countries may end up suffering the most, and they're the least responsible for it. Um, my hope is that countries that have not contributed can also learn from, like, where I live. I'm in the US. Our country's made so many mistakes, and it's, hopefully you can learn from us, like, don't make the same mistakes as us. And obviously it's like, it's easy to say that, but I don't look at this as a way in which, like, don't tell us what to do. It's like, we're all in this together,
True.
and we all have to then go, we all need to switch to renewable energy. And if you can start with renewable energy, even better. So that's
I
essentially,
think
like,
that's
remove the ego from this.
true. And I think what's more important is, bringing children into this whole climate action agenda, because
Yeah.
they are the future. Ultimately, they have to
Yeah.
face the consequences
Yeah.
in
more
next
than
15,
more
20
than you and
years.
I. Yeah. And
True.
so that's why I look at this and go, wow, it's so important so for you kids who are watching this is like a world that, it's a beautiful world, and all of us need to protect it and do what we can. And the older people than you, myself, and all of, your teachers are, like, we're doing our best, and we all just have to act together. It doesn't really matter ultimately how old someone is. We all have to recognize that we can change our habits, and, live and make the best choices we can.
True. The change starts at home. And
Yeah.
I think that's a very powerful message that comes from your film. So Dennis, what are you doing currently? What are the interesting projects you have currently?
So, and I would love to invite all of the students and kids who are watching right now. There's a website that is connected to the film, cooltheclimate.com. And so we've just launched that as well. And that has games that you can play, which save square feet of jungle. So by visiting the site, we've made the website carbon negative. So even by visiting it, it's removes carbon from the atmosphere. And then when you play the games, you save specific square feet of jungle. So we're buying that jungle when you play the games. So I mentioned this. That's like the project we've just launched along with the film, and that is something that will be an ongoing website that we're just going to be adding more and more content to in the future, because we want to make it, like, we're launching it with this program, and then we'll expand it. Uh, I'm looking at it from the point of view of, imagine creating a website that everybody, whoever wants to do something about climate change, can come visit the site and have resources so they can, feel involved and not powerless.
Yeah, that's interesting. So, kids, whenever you get time, do log in and see, explore what is there on cooltheclimate.com. That's the website that Dennis just mentioned. And Dennis, thank you so much for taking out time and joining us today for this brief conversation. We
Thank
loved
you.
your film, and it's
My
a very,
pleasure.
very important and relevant subject that you have been working on. And all the best from our entire team for taking this climate agenda forward.
It's my pleasure, and thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much, and see
Have
you
a great
again.
day.
See you again
Thank
with
you.
more
I look
films
forward to
and
it.
on your website. See you.
Thanks so
Thank
much.
you and
Bye bye.
goodbye. Bye
Thank you.
bye.